Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Friday, January 19th. I am back breaking down your slate. Sorry for the little time off there. I had some family stuff to work out, and then also got COVID right the tail end of that when I would have been back earlier this week. So now I really am back, and let's get to it. We have a 7-game slate. We have a lot to cover. We're going to go over the ownership, pivots to make, and the slate as a whole. Now, before we get into it, come join us at Line Star. I want to bring your attention down there. We got 4 different affiliates we can connect with. We got Parlay Play, we got Sleeper, we have Underdog, and we have CHALKBOARD. So the one thing with Sleeper, $500 deposit match, dollar for dollar, up to $500. It is a very good deal. You should absolutely take advantage while they still have it. All right, now let's get into the slate. All right, so starting off, point guards, 7-game slate. Highest owned, Jamal Murray, Anthony Simons, DeJounte Murray. I obviously do like Murray. I think he's in a great spot. I haven't liked him just because I'm not getting quite as much of him as I am Jamal Murray, Anthony Simons. I think Murray's in a very good spot. It is a game that could be very close. The thing that's, about Denver is they're a lot worse away. So this game is in Boston. The stars have to show up, being either Murray or Jokic have to show up for them to have a chance in this game. And I think it just lays out a little bit better for Murray than it does Jokic in this game. Not to say that Jokic can't do it. Anthony Simons also stepping up quite a bit. He's in a good spot versus the Pacers. Look, he handles the ball a lot. He has a huge ceiling. His price isn't that high. But he also has a big-time floor. Now, I don't love going to Simons at high ownership when he's this volatile. But this is a very strange slate, and I think I might have to a little bit. I have found that my player pool, the slate is very small. We have several teams that it's just hard to use many of the guys. The Pacers, outside of Siakam, Halliburton, Turner, don't really know what their rotations are going to be. Trailblazers are kind of similar like that. Another team that's like that is the Spurs. You never know the Spurs rotation. So I think this is just kind of a tricky slate. And with that, we're going to have to eat a little chalk. The pivot that I like at point guard that not many are going to is CJ McCollum versus the Suns. Suns actually have been giving it up to point guard, so I don't mind going to CJ. 8.2K isn't too high, and he flirts right around 40, game in, game out. He's been very good. I like him in this spot. Definitely going to go to him a little bit. Now, getting over to Draftkings, highest owned point guards, we got LaMelo Ball, DeJounte Murray, and Devin Vassell. I like them all. I think Ball's in a good spot. 8,800 is very good priced in a good spot versus the Spurs. Do not mind that. DeJounte Murray, look, the spot that he's in is absolutely great. He's been right around 40 fantasy points with Trae Young. So without, you gotta like his spot versus the Heat. Now, it's obviously a pace down spot for him, as the Heat are a slower team, but I still think it's a decent spot here. And I don't mind going to Devin Vassell. He is kind of my favorite today on the Spurs. The one thing the Spurs do have is there is no Victor Wemby. So that is going to change things for them. They are much worse without him. And it is one of the higher game total environments on the slate. Now, getting over to the matchup column. Spencer Dinwiddie, Tyrese Halliburton, CJ McCollum, Devin Booker, DeJounte Murray all have the best matchup. So don't mind going to any of them. Just told you the guys that I prefer already. Now, on to shooting guard. We got Bogdan Bogdanovic, Devin Vassell, Anthony Simons. Bogdan, without Trae Young, he gets a big bump up. Likely does start, or even if he doesn't start, he's going to come into the game pretty quickly and play a solid amount of minutes. 6.1K is just too cheap for the minutes and usage bump that he gets without Trae. So I will definitely be going there quite a bit. Vassell, 6.9K, and no Wemby. He's a guy that can put up 50. So in a good spot where he is now, kind of the centerpiece of this team, I think it's a pretty interesting spot. And Simons, we talked about. McCollum is the pivot. Really not liking a ton of pivots for shooting guard today. All right, on DraftKings, we got Bogdan. We got Julian Champagne. He's just super cheap and starting. Don't really like the upside there, but there's not much value right now on this slate, and that is the issue, and that's why ownership is so condensed. Hopefully a little bit more value opens up, so it can spread out the value or the ownership a little bit. We do actually have some breaking news right here that Anthony Simons is now questionable with an illness. I will say that if he is out, Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, a lot of the Trailblazers look very, very much more interesting, just because Simons does take up so much usage. All right, now on to matchup tool. Best matchups: Buddy Hield, Miles Bridges, Anthony Simons, and Austin Reeves. I don't mind Reeves. The one thing I will say here is, as a starter, he's only right around 0.87 fantasy point per minute, whereas coming off the bench, he's a little closer to, he's like 0.95 or so. So playing with those starters has definitely taken away some of his upside. However, if he gets rolling, he's still going to roll. So I don't mind going there. I am just a little hesitant due to that lower output with him starting with the rest of those dudes. All right. Now, small forward, high owned Bogdan Bogdanovic, Jabari Walker, and Saddiq Bey. We'll throw in Brandon Miller there too. Bogdan, we talked about. Jabari Walker has been starting. Played 30 minutes, played 29 the game before, and 32 the game before that. We know he has big time upside, and now he's in a very fast up tempo spot. I think you can definitely go to Walker in this situation when he's playing 30 minutes. His fantasy point per minute as a starter is way down at like 0.6, but he's, right around 1 fantasy point per minute when he's coming off the bench. Now, I don't think 0.6 is who he is. I don't think 1 fantasy point per minute is who he is when he's with starters. But something in between is very likely, and if he's getting 30 minutes, that he could definitely get there. Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey gets one of the bigger bumps with Trae Young out. He just shoots the ball a lot more. His usage goes up like 5% without Trae Young. So I'm very interested in him. His fantasy points per minute is, right around 0.75, 0.76 for the season. But without Trae Young, that gets up to like 0.93, 0.94. So I think it's pretty interesting to go to Bay today. Brandon Miller, he is in a decent spot, but really the thing here is only 5.3K. Still not sure if he's going to be back. He's missed a couple games, but if he's going to get 30 minutes, we know there is the upside there to get 30 plus points. So I'm at least intrigued by then. And I'm also intrigued by Miles Bridges. Hasn't done much the last couple days, but in a very, very good spot. Has a real high ceiling. And don't mind attacking the Spurs through Miles Bridges at a little bit lower ownership than what he probably should be. All right. Now, on to DraftKings. Julian Champagne, Jason Tatum, and Tobias Harris. Don't really like Tatum. Don't really like Harris in this spot. I think Tatum will have the work cut out for him against Aaron Gordon a little bit. Everybody's healthy. I get it if you want to go there, but I just don't think there's enough value on this slate to really warrant going up to those real expensive guys. Tobias Harris, he's fine. He could get there, but it is a slower pace game, and I just don't love the ceiling with Embiid and Maxey both there. He's definitely more of the third man out. Matchup tool. Julian, Jimmy Butler, Aaron Naismith, Tayshaun Prince, Tayshaun. Don't mind going to Butler. The problem with Butler for me is I just have a hard time going to him during the regular season, especially when an opposing star is out and his team is getting back to health. While he absolutely could get there, I just think it's priced a little bit too high for me. All right. And power forward, Jabari Walker, Pascal Siakam, Saddiq Bey. Excuse me there. Walker, we talked about. Siakam. Look, with Siakam's price, I don't mind going there. He is a guy that can, get mid 40s into the 50s. Absolutely. It's in a pace up spot. There will be some figuring out phase, for the Pacers here, but Halliburton can play with anybody, and I do think he fits very well alongside Miles Turner due to the fact that Miles Turner can shoot and can definitely stay out pretty wide. So I don't mind this spot whatsoever for Pascal. Still not totally 100% sure he's going to play, but he is expected to. The other thing is we're used to him playing huge minutes. The Pacers don't play their guys huge minutes, so we got to see how many minutes to really project him for. We have him for 33.5 right now, and that's probably what I would too. And, where he's been used to playing more like 35 minutes, 36 minutes, will make it a little bit harder for him to get there. Saddiq Bey, we talked about. Zach Collins is questionable. He could come back today. If he does, I like the spot. Charlotte hasn't been good versus centers with Mark Williams out. Nick Richards is also questionable. Collins could really eat down low versus Charlotte. He may be a little limited today, but we're not really sure what's going on there. And then a pivot that I like is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has just been absolutely crushing. If I'm going to pay up today, I'm probably going to do it with AD. I think he's in a very good spot, and he's just been on fire lately. I mean, living right around 60 fantasy points is pretty unreal. So definitely like going there. Power forward on DraftKings, Jeremy Shokan, Okongwu, and Jason Tatum. Sochan is fine. 5,200 is probably too cheap for him without Wemby, so you could definitely go there in a good spot. Okongwu, 4.32K is just too cheap when he's going to likely get 23, 24 minutes, 26 maybe, and in a decent spot. So I don't mind going there. And it's a spot where Capella could easily get into some foul trouble, and maybe Okongwu could play a little bit more. Don't love the ownership, but this 4,300 is definitely too cheap for him. And matchup tool, Dorian Finney-Smith, Pascal Siakam, Zion Williamson, Jabari Walker, all up there. Really don't have anything bad to say about any of them. Don't love Dorian Finney-Smith. He is priced a little bit too high. Everybody else, I don't mind playing. And on to center. So Pascal Siakam, Zach Collins, Nick Claxton. Don't mind Claxton. I think he's in a very good spot. I'm just not getting to a ton of them right now. I do like Zach Collins. Don't mind Pascal. I like Miles Turner. Miles Turner is just in a very good matchup versus Portland for centers. I know Ayton is back, which probably does take away a little bit of that plus matchup. But I do think it's a very interesting spot. And like I said, Pascal and him should work together pretty well. So I don't really see Siakam eating into Turner's points too much. If anything, it could free him up a little bit more and help him out. So do not mind going there. And then obviously I like AD as well. On to DraftKings, Okongwu, Wendell Carter, and Kristaps Porzingis are the high owned. I do think Wendell Carter at 4,500 is pretty interesting. Got 24 minutes last game, 19 the game before that. Coming off the bench, so he likely won't see quite as much as Joel Embiid, and he could definitely attack that second unit. So I am a little bit intrigued by going to Wendell Carter. Just wish he was a little cheaper. Porzingis is pretty interesting. Some centers have definitely gone off yet against Jokic, and it's not a bad thing to attach Jokic and try to get him into a little foul trouble and hopefully play less minutes versus them. So do not mind going there as well. Center matchups, we got Bam, Adebayo, Miles Turner, Zach Collins, Nick Richards. Do not mind them all. I think Richards is an interesting one if he plays, especially if he gets 30-plus minutes. But all in all, I don't mind any of those good matchup spots. That will do it for us today. Like I said, it's kind of an interesting one. Not a ton of pivots that I like today. And these days can kind of be tricky. So right now my player pool is very, very small, which I'm not a huge fan of because everybody's player pool is probably going to be small today. So it's either, a pretty high variance type of night where you're either on it and on the pivots to get a little different or way off it. So good luck, everybody. I'll be back on Monday for NBA DFS and talk to you soon. Bye.